Hey there, creepy peeps. Welcome to my channel. If you are new here, welcome back. If you are returning, it's time for another decade ranking. Really quickly, I realized like half of this favorites shelf behind me is aughts horror, which isn't unsurprising because it's my favorite decade of horror, so. But I also realized that I've talked about these movies that I'm about to talk about so much, I wouldn't really be saying anything new to you guys, unless this just happens to be the first video of mine that you're watching, in which case, hi. Anyways though, I thought I would make it a little bit more hopefully fun, definitely more challenging for myself, and instead of just talking about why I love these movies that I'm going to be talking about, I'm going to try and defend some of them to like the horror genre. Not that I have to, because if you like a movie, like what the fuck ever, just like the movie, there's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to defend your choice. This is just for fun because some of these movies, technically speaking, are not great. And that is the perfect segue to start off this list with number 10, which is Queen of the Damned. Surprised it's so low on the top 10 list? Yeah, me too, kinda. I'm fully aware that technically speaking, this movie sucks pale vampire ass, but I kind of love it for that reason, and also because Stuart Townsend as Lestat was part 1 of your girl's sexual awakening, so if you look like this, hit me up. Not only that, but the soundtrack slaps harder than it has any right to. But in its defense, I feel like the female vampire is kind of like this enigma in movies and TV and books. And it's kind of alarming. Like, I feel like the female vampire doesn't get nearly as much attention as she needs to get. And in this movie, we have Akasha, who, yes, is evil, but she's a complete fucking badass. She kills her male counterpart in order to come back and goes on the sickest of rampages that includes ripping the heart of a fellow vampire out and eating it. Then setting everybody on fire. Like, just bow the fuck down. Coming in at number 9 on my top 10 list is The House of the Devil, which is the Mumblegore hit from Ty West. It hardly feels like this movie belongs on a top aughts horror list because it just straight up looks like this movie came out in the 80s. I love the way the tension is built in the movie. It's one of those slow burns that builds and builds and then takes a sharp left and goes off the walls crazy by the end. This is one of the best examples of 80s nostalgia that the genre has to offer, I think. And this is the type of nostalgia I want to see. Like, as a film, just make it look like it came out in the 80s, not all of this like over shove it down your throat like 80s nostalgia references like in every single frame. Anyways though, number 8 on my list is House of Wax. Oh my god, are you tired of hearing me talk about this movie yet? No? Sweet. I mentioned this in my Voodoo Hidden Gems video kind of recently, but this was the first movie that I ever snuck into because I was not old enough to see it in theaters at the time without parental supervision. So I have a major soft spot in my heart for this movie. Plus, we have part 2 of my sexual awakening, Chad Michael Murray. It's not a perfect movie, but in its defense, this is technically a remake of a remake, and I think it does well to change up the storyline a bit from the first 2 films, which is really all I require for an adequate remake. Number 7 is Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon. Again, a movie I also talked about fairly recently in one of my Hidden Gem videos, and I can't remember which one. It's not really a challenge to defend this movie because it's just like, it speaks for itself. It's a fantastic example of a self-reflexive slasher movie. The way they play with the slasher cliches by going behind the scenes with the documentary crew is totally unique, and it makes the movie a must-watch, especially if you love movies like Scream, that sort of stuff. You're gonna love this one. Coming in at number 6 is Grindhouse, more specifically Planet Terror from that double feature, because let's be honest, Robert Rodriguez's film blew Tarantino's out of the water. I love how stylized this movie is. It kind of reminds me of Rob Zombie's films where you can tell that he was going for a certain style, and yeah, maybe it's a little bit over the top at times, but I feel like that's what Rodriguez was going for. And also the star-studded cast of Planet Terror just defends the movie for me. Like, it speaks for itself. Moving in to the top half here, we have Paranormal Activity, aka the movie that scared the absolute shit out of me. I very vividly remember going to see this in the theaters with my best friend, who never ever let me talk her into taking her to a horror movie ever again after this. This was also still the time, I was still in high school when I saw this, where I didn't look up any movies, like any horror movies, before I went to go see them. I would just go to the movies and find the horror movie or find a horror movie and go see it. And I would go in completely blind, not knowing anything. And also social media still wasn't quite what it was today, which also helped. So for 90 minutes, roughly, my brain convinced me that the movie was totally real, and it freaked me the fuck out. This movie definitely proves that less is more. I like that you only see hints of the demon, like a shadow passing over a door, footprints in the flour or baby powder or whatever it was in the movie. Because it's kind of like the Blair Witch Project in that, like, what's in my head is always going to be way scarier than anything a filmmaker can show me. Number 4, in my opinion, is one of the scariest movies that I've ever seen, and that is The Strangers. I will never forget watching this movie for the first time. It was at night, in my house, alone, for a whole weekend. I've made a lot of bad decisions in my time, and that one is definitely top 5. This movie is just a super effective home invasion horror, and I remember it fucking me up so bad when the killers finally decide to put the couple out of their misery, and it's in the morning after the sun had come up when everything is supposed to be all right. It's like I have a love-hate relationship when filmmakers do that, when they play with the cliches, kind of like Midsummer. Everyone was talking about how Midsummer, there wasn't like a single night scene in that movie, and it puts you on the edge of your seat because like the scary stuff happens at night, right? So when the fucked up shit starts happening during the day, it really messes with your brain. And this and this movie did that as well. This won't surprise anyone. Number 3 on my list is The Devil's Rejects, everybody's favorite Rob Zombie movie. It's grisly, it's grimy, it's violent, and it's got one of the craziest killer families, I think, ever to grace the silver screen. To me, this is quintessential aughts horror, like the hyper-violent stuff that started coming out post 9/11. I also really love that this movie is such like a sharp left turn from House of a Thousand Corpses. I like the kind of journey these two movies take, where in House of a Thousand Corpses, the Firefly family is in their element. They're at their home, they're in control with their sadistic ways, but then in The Devil's Rejects, they're on the run. They're not really on top. They're not in control of their environment and their situation, and things get a little more real. They're less psychedelic, more nitty gritty. I love these two movies together. So speaking of House of a Thousand Corpses, that's actually my number 2 most favorite-ist movie from the aughts, and it's actually my number 3 favorite movie of all time. Which might be like slightly unpopular because I feel like a lot of people I've talked to prefer Devil's Rejects over House of a Thousand Corpses. I love the figurative and literal descent this movie takes into madness. It just gets crazier and crazier as it goes on, and in a sick kind of way, I really love showing people this movie for the first time, especially if they're not horror fans either, because you can see in their face like they're like into it in the first half of the movie because it's, you know, it seems like a normal kind of slasher movie, and then it just starts getting weirder and weirder, and I love seeing people get more and more confused as it goes on. Rob Zombie has such a distinct style as a director, and I feel like his first movie, House of a Thousand Corpses, is like the prime example of that style. I know some people criticize him for always taking a similar route, and that's totally justified. I mean, the man always writes and directs his films. I've also seen some criticisms that they would like to see him direct something that somebody else has written All of that is justified, and I completely understand that. And I would also like to see him change things up a bit, not gonna lie. But I also kind of low-key respect that, like, he has a style that, like, he wants to go for, and he just goes for it. I think the man knows. I don't think he's an idiot. I think he knows that his movies are very style over substance, and he wants them to look a certain way and feel a certain way, and he achieves that every single time. And you know what? Like, you do the thing, man. And surprising no one, in the #1 spot for my favorite aughts horror movie is Trick or Treat. It is a very well-known fact among the creepy peeps on this channel that I am a hoe for Michael Dougherty. In fact, I am the biggest hoe for Michael Dougherty. I'm a Michael Hoerty, if you will. I love everything that this man does, and Trick or Treat is the top of the list. It is the perfect Halloween horror movie, and there is not a single film that you can bring up to me that will change my mind on that. It's a fantastic anthology that is woven together beautifully, and each segment perfectly captures the whimsical yet sinister feeling of the holiday. Am I overdoing it a bit? No, I don't think I am. The only sucky thing is I just, like, can't seem to remember the first time I saw this movie. Like, I can't remember, like, when and where it was, how I felt. It just kind of feels like that the movie has always been there, you know? Okay, now I'm overdoing it a little bit. Okay, so that's it for the decades rankings for now. I've already done my 10s, still don't know what we're calling that, ranking. I did that at towards the beginning of this year, so I'll link it up here if you haven't seen that yet. Also, let me know if eventually you would like me to travel back farther, because I started at the 70s doing these, so if you want me to do like the 60s, 50s, and move backwards, let me know, and eventually I will get around to those. But these are time consuming to edit. Not hard to edit, just time consuming. So we're gonna give these a break for a second. But of course, let me know what your favorite aughts horror movies are in the comment section. Before we go, I want to thank my creepy patron peeps for their support of my channel. Thank you guys so much. If you want to find out the perks to being a creepy patron peep yourself, you can follow that link in the description. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps me out. You can subscribe, become a creepy peep if you're new here, if you've been lurking. I post videos Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you guys very soon. Until then though, stay strange. Bye.